So, the 2021 WWE Draft finished up yesterday, and basically it was a two-night event. It started on Friday on Smackdown on Fox, and then it finished up yesterday on Monday Night Raw on USA Network. And basically not much, if you will, really changed according to some people, mostly when it came to, let's say, the Monday Night Raw side of things. Not really much changed whatsoever, if you catch my drift. Not really much changed, as some people viewed it. Alex Six, just Alex, and several others. They felt like not really much had, changed from a roster. Things changed from a roster perspective, but not too much. It's basically key players remained where they were, and others, moved, to kind of freshen things up. In other words, it was just it's like when you basically, you're playing a game of baseball or football or whatever, and you decide, okay, everybody's used to seeing so-and-so batting after this person, or so-and-so, coming in for this play to receive, or the quarterback. What do we do what can we do to freshen things up? Oh, I know. Let's put somebody in that position on, in that position, or, that part of the lineup that nobody would see coming, or nobody would expect, or let's rearrange it to where, they think this person's batting first, but instead we'll have the bat seventh, and then the person that's batting seventh will have bat first, or something like that. That's kind of what the draft is. It is to allow WWE to kind of do a soft reboot, retcon, if you will, for the upcoming season premieres. The season premiere for Smackdown, I think, was this past Friday, and Monday Night Raw is basically going to be very soon, I'm assuming, if not already. But right here, off of Wikipedia, is 11 pages, believe it or not, talking about the WWE Draft. Now, it says basically for the background, in case anybody wants to know, the WWE Draft, and I want to make sure the mic is on there. If you heard anything on the microphone, that was my arm. But anyway, it says this, and this is the background Wikipedia has. It says, and I quote, "The WWE Draft is an annual process used by the American professional wrestling promotion, WWE, while a brand extension or brand split is in effect. The original brand extension occurred from 2002 to 2011. While the second and current brand split began in 2016. During a brand extension, the company divides its roster into brands where the wrestlers exclusively perform for each brand's respective television show. And the draft is used to refresh the rosters of the brand divisions, typically between the Raw and Smackdown brands. The 2021 draft was WWE's 16th draft and was officially announced during the September 13th episode of Raw. It was scheduled to occur during the October 1st and 4th episodes of SmackDown and Raw, respectively. On October 1st, before SmackDown's broadcast, WWE confirmed that wrestlers from NXT were eligible to be drafted to either Raw or SmackDown, and that the results from the draft would go into effect beginning with the October 22nd episode of Smackdown, the day after the Crown Jewel pay-per-view. Now, here's the rules. Here's the rules that were put down. It says, the rules of the 2021 WWE Draft were revealed by WWE correspondent Megan Morant on Twitter during the day before the first night of the draft on October 1st. Over 60 wrestlers, including tag teams, were placed in the draft pool, though no names were announced ahead of time. With half of the roster were eligible to be drafted during the first night, while the other half were eligible the second night. Tag teams were counted as one pick unless Fox or USA officials who were promoted as draft decision makers specifically only wanted one member of the team. Additionally, any undrafted wrestlers became kayfabe free agents and could sign with the brand of their choice. The new rosters will go into effect on Friday, October 22nd, 2021, the night after the Crown Jewel pay-per-view. So in other words, what they're saying is that a lot of these men and women and teams that got drafted have basically, as of not just Friday, which was the 2nd, but also the 4th, which was yesterday, and counting today as well, they have literally little over 2 weeks to, take care of business, get things done before they move over to the new brand officially. Now, here are, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on some of these. Here are basically the draft picks for night 1 on the Smackdown edition of the draft. These were, now here's the thing. Because Smackdown is 2 hours and Raw is 3, Raw got an additional, I think, what was it? What did Raw get? Raw got basically an additional, let me double check this here. 6, okay, Raw got an additional 2 rounds because it's 3 hours. But on night 1, there were the first 4 rounds were done. And officials Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville announced the draft picks for the 6 rounds. So here's how it goes. The first 4 picks in the draft were Roman Reigns to SmackDown, Big E to Raw, and that being, of course, Roman Reigns, the Universal Champ. Fox, had a say in that. They want to keep him. Big E, of course, formerly of SmackDown, now is on Raw because he is the WWE Champion. Charlotte Flair from Raw to SmackDown. She is the current Raw Women's Champion. So what's most likely to happen is she will probably swap belts with whoever wins the SmackDown title at Crown Jewel. And Charlotte Flair being on SmackDown again, just like Roman Reigns, was a Fox decision. Fox basically said, hey, look, we want Charlotte Flair. We want her on this brand. And no questions asked. And what that tells me by Fox saying, hey, we want to keep Roman and we want Charlotte, is they want to make sure that since SmackDown is on a big network, a big network to where everybody can see it, more houses can view it, they want to make sure and maintain that their show is the A show of WWE. Like, you thought NXT was the A show? You thought Raw was the A show for a while? No. SmackDown's the A show, and we got the names to prove it. So that's why Charlotte went to SmackDown. That was a Fox decision. Bianca Belair, she's going to Raw from SmackDown. Drew McIntyre is going from Raw to SmackDown. I think that's also a Fox move because I think they see the potential for a McIntyre-Reigns rivalry. RK Bro, Randy Orton and Matt Riddle will stay on Raw. They're the Raw Tag Team Champs. The New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods will be going back to SmackDown, so they're separate from Big E again. Edge will be going from SmackDown to Raw, although he could go anywhere he wanted. He's primarily been on SmackDown, so he's going to go to Raw and continue his rivalry with Seth there, and we'll get into that in a moment. So Edge is going to Raw. Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss, that being Baron Corbin and Riddick Moss, are going to stay on SmackDown. Nikki Ash and Rhea Ripley are staying on Raw. They're the Women's Tag Team Champions. Hit Row. This was the first big surprise of the night of the draft. Hit Row from NXT, that being Isaiah Swerve Scott, Ashante the Andrade, Top Dollar, and B-Fab are going to SmackDown. And right now, Swerve Scott is the North American Champion. So he's either going to have to vacate that title or lose it to somebody on NXT. Everybody's assuming it's going to be Escobar that he loses it to. Next up, Bearcat Keith Lee, formerly Limitless, is going to stay on Raw. Naomi is staying on SmackDown, and I'll say this. I love Sonya Deville's reaction because, again, Fox does have a say, according to what it says here. Fox kind of has a say, because it says it right here. Tag teams will count it as one pick unless Fox or USA officials who were promoted as draft decision makers. So in other words, basically Fox had a say in this decision, and I say this: if there's one little moment that you could kind of like get a kick out of, it's Sonya Deville's reaction, like, okay, this obviously wasn't my call, because you know what they're doing right now with Naomi and her is she has something against Naomi, and if it's what I think they're doing, what I'm trying to, okay, let me correct myself there. Almost got tongue-tied there. But what I was trying to say is the way she reacted to Fox saying, hey, we want to keep Naomi on here. Sonya Deville's reaction was like, oh, well, you know, this wasn't my choice, and Naomi, you know, she didn't like it. She didn't like having to say that. And what I'm trying to say is, if they're doing what I think they're going to do with these two, then yeah, that's going to make some compelling television, because what a way for you know, Sonya to get back into the ring, get back into action, than to have her play the role of a racist individual. I'm just saying. Now I could be totally wrong on that, and we can find out that, you know, Naomi going to SmackDown was Charlotte's idea. Charlotte's the one that encouraged Fox to take her, and then Fox is like, well, we're going to take her, we're going to take you too. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the other direction they go in is Sonya reveals it was all Charlotte's idea, because Charlotte signed Naomi as a threat to her women's title. Who knows? So yeah, she wasn't too happy about that. So we'll probably get a match out of this very, very soon between Naomi and Sonya down the line. The Mysterios, Dominic Mysterio and Rey Mysterio, are going to Raw from SmackDown. Some people are assuming that's where the breakup's going to occur, where Dominic's going to feud with his father. Even though Rey is out right now with a medical issue, we don't know what that is. It could just be he needs a break. We'll see. But physical, mental break. We'll see. But yeah, basically, Dominic and Rey are going to Raw, which again could potentially lead to them breaking up, or it could keep them together as a team, because maybe a change of atmosphere is what they need. Jeff Hardy going from Raw to SmackDown. A lot of people feel that that's a good move for Jeff, because, you know, even though despite he might have who knows how many years left on his contract, that's a good way to, you know, bring him back to prominence, and potentially bring the Willow character into the picture, into the WWE landscape and picture for the first time. Willow, of course, being his alter ego that we first saw in TNA. You know, that he's portrayed before, even before getting into the big time. So we could potentially see Willow show up to face Austin Theory, you know, in Austin's first match on Raw, and potentially Jeff's last match on Raw before going to SmackDown, but we'll see. And then speaking of Austin Theory has been moved up from NXT to Raw. That might be a good move. Some might be worried about him, you know, in that position, because Raw is 3 hours. What do you do with the guy? Do you put him in the 24/7 chase? Do you finally basically go in the direction that you were supposed to go in originally with him, and that's, you know, try to make him a main eventer? Maybe you realign him with Seth Rollins. We'll see. Now, of course, just like with any draft that they've had in the past, they also had a supplement draft. This supplement draft took place on Talking Smack the next day, and the supplement draft went like this. Akira Tozawa is going to remain on Raw. Aaliyah from NXT is going to SmackDown. A lot of people feel that's a good move. Alpha Academy, Chad Gable and Otis are going from SmackDown to Raw. Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz are going from SmackDown to Raw. Doudrop, Piper Niven, is going to stay on Raw. Drake Maverick is going to stay on Raw. Drew Gulak is going from Raw to SmackDown, so maybe he'll get more opportunities there. If there's one thing I'll say about Fox and USA, the difference with their shows, is Fox allows certain talent to get more emphasis on them. Like they'll see talent like a Drew Gulak not doing much on Raw, and bringing him to SmackDown, they'll be like, oh, we can do something with this guy. He's got the talent. We could do something with this guy, and they probably will. So expect some big things out of Drew Gulak when he officially goes to SmackDown. John Morrison will stay on Raw. Mace, the former Dio Madden, he's going to SmackDown. Mansoor and Mustafa Ali are going to SmackDown. They're a team. Nia Jax is remaining on Raw. R-Truth is remaining on Raw. Reggie is remaining on Raw. T-Bar, Divakovic, I think. Divakovic. T-Bar Divakovic, if you will. He's remaining on Raw. Toni Storm is remaining on SmackDown. And Zelina Vega is going from SmackDown to Raw, which some people feel is going to be her burial ground in the near future. But we'll see. So that was night one. That was night one. So apparently Fox wanted Dio Madden Mace because he was a name, I think, in the NFL and all that beforehand. And they heard, obviously, some good things about him, like from Booker T and all that. So we'll see what happens. Divakovic, I think, is going to do good on Raw, and maybe they'll allow him to be Divakovic again. He could just come out and say, hey, this is who I was. This is who Ali made me become in Retribution, but now I'm going to be myself. We'll see. We'll see. Or maybe he'll stick with T-Bar. We don't know. Alright, on night 2, which was last night on Raw, Becky Lynch went from SmackDown to Raw, which basically could indicate that if she does retain, then what we'll see is her swapping out titles with Charlotte, like we saw the Street Profits and the New Day do last year. The Usos, who are the SmackDown Tag Team Champs, are going to remain on SmackDown. The Hurt Business, which is Bobby Lashley, MVP, and Shelton and Cedric, are going to remain on Raw. Sasha Banks is going to remain on SmackDown. Seth Rollins is going to Raw, so he'll continue his feud with Edge there. And of course, that should have been a given. A lot of people said that as soon as Edge went to Raw, it was a given that Seth was going to go. And I think at the beginning of that, with Becky going to Raw to start out night 2, that was a given he was going to go too. So Seth Rollins is going to be on Raw. King Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs is going to remain on SmackDown. Shinsuke is the Intercontinental Champion. Damian Priest, the U.S. Champs, remaining on Raw. Sheamus is going from Raw to SmackDown. AJ Styles and Omos are remaining on Raw. Shayna Baszler is going from Raw to SmackDown. That right there, obviously, is a Fox move. Kevin Owens is going from SmackDown to Raw. Xia Li is going from NXT to SmackDown. I don't know if she'll keep the same gimmick and persona that she's created under that stable that they did. So we'll see. The Street Profits are going from SmackDown to Raw, which was a given when Bianca was drafted there on Friday. So Montez Ford, being her husband, is going to join her along with Angelo Dawkins. Although there is reports that they originally wanted to break them up, but then reconsidered. Good move on them. The Viking Raiders, Eric and Ivar are going to SmackDown. I think that's a good move. Give the Usos some more competition, along with Nakamura and Boogs, if you will. Finn Balor is going from SmackDown to Raw. That's a good move. Expect him to... this is what I'm expecting out of Finn Balor, the Demon, if you will, when he's going to Raw. I expect him to feud with Seth Rollins. After Edge, is done with him, I got a feeling Finn's going to be the next one, because if they do the storyline I think they're doing, they're going to make Seth want a good, they're going to make Seth so determined to get his shot at the WWE title that he's willing to go through anybody, and one of them is going to be Finn Balor. He's going to be willing to go through, although he may have to deal with the Demon as well. Ricochet is going from Raw to SmackDown. A lot of people love that move. Ricochet going to SmackDown because they feel that just like Drew Gulak, here's a guy that has all the talent in the world. He just hasn't been given the chance to really showcase it. And Fox, of course, when they made the deal to bring SmackDown onto their network, said, hey, we want to bring it on, but it's got to be more athletic-based, more sports-based and all that. Basically, wrestling, more emphasis on the wrestling in the ring than anything. So, obviously, Ricochet, I think, is a call on their part because they see the talent he has and the fact that he's not going to be out of there until at least 2024, if not sooner. That they can get a lot of use out of him, and maybe he'll get an Intercontinental title run. Maybe he'll get a program with Roman Reigns. We'll see. Karrion Kross, he's going to stay on Raw. No Scarlett Bodez yet. No Lady Scarlett yet. That might change. Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo, the cousins, are going to SmackDown. I think that's a good move. Because just like with Ricochet, they could show off a little bit more. And that's the other thing about the difference between Fox having SmackDown and USA having Raw. Fox is more lenient in letting the talent be, kind of be themselves a little bit. Alexa Bliss is going to remain on Raw. Cesaro's going to stay on SmackDown. Carmella is going from SmackDown to Raw. That makes sense because, of course, her boyfriend, Corey Graves, is there. Rich Holiday.
Sorry, I'm having trouble. Please try it in a little while.
And that was just my Alexa or something. Sorry, I got distracted there. Rich Holland from NXT, who's currently in a tag team with Pete Dunne, he's going to SmackDown. I think that's a Fox move. I think that's a collaborative move between Fox and Vince because, Ridge Holland has the size and everything, so you bring him in, maybe bring him in as a heel, then turn him babyface against the heel Roman Reigns. You might have something there, but he still needs time, so we'll see what they do. Gable Stevenson, the recent gold medalist of the Olympics this year, is going to be on Raw, and Sami Zayn is going to stay on SmackDown. And, so yeah, that's pretty much that was the on-screen draft picks last night. And then here's the supplemented draft that happened on Raw Talk. Just like on Talking Smack the following day, Raw Talk follows Raw. It doesn't wait until Tuesday. It just follows automatically afterwards. So here's who got drafted during the supplemental draft. Dana Brooke is going to remain on Raw. Their Dirty Dogs, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, are going to go to Raw from SmackDown. The Hurt Business, Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin, like I mentioned earlier, along with MVP and Bobby Lashley, are going to stay on Raw. Jason Riker is going to remain on Raw. Jinder Mahal and Shanky are going to SmackDown. Liv Morgan is going from SmackDown to Raw. Mia Yim is going from NXT to Raw, although she was already on Raw, technically. And I think they say that somewhere, don't they? Let me see. Well, I'll get into that in a moment. The Miz is going to stay on Raw. Natalya is going to stay on SmackDown. Shotzi is going to stay on SmackDown. Tamina is going to Raw. Tegan Nox is going to Raw. And Veer, Shanky and Veer, they were a team, is going to stay on Raw. Now, again, you got to remember, Fox and USA, according to what's being reported, kind of have been promoted into that decision-making thing. And if they want somebody or they see the potential in somebody out of a tag team that they feel can do good on their own and represent, the SmackDown brand better, as their own person, then they're going to take that person. And the same with USA and Raw. The same with USA for Raw. Now, there are a few free agents. Brock Lesnar basically is contractually provisioned. Basically, Brock made it known during the first night of the draft that, it don't matter, what happens when it's all said and done. He can go anywhere, because that was basically a deal that was arranged by Paul Heyman. Thus, he's eligible to appear on any brand. So Brock Lesnar is gonna show up anywhere he wants. Like if he can't beat Roman Reigns, he'll probably try to challenge Big E. Asuka is a free agent. A lot of people, and she's out right now with a hand injury. Although a lot of people feel when she comes back, she's going to SmackDown. Bayley is inactive due to a torn ACL. A lot of people are expecting that, she might go to Raw to balance things out with Becky as heels or babyface. Elias and Eva Marie, they were not drafted, but Elias I think is gonna head to Raw, and Eva Marie might head to SmackDown. That's my assumption. Lacey Evans is out due to maternity leave. Of course, she's having a kid, or had a kid. She was previously on Raw, but I've got a feeling if she comes back, because I feel Lacey Evans is one of those talents that, after she becomes a mom, or gives birth to her baby and everything, if she hasn't already, I got a feeling she might be the kind that decides, I want to be a mom more than anything, so I'm just going to hang it up. So, and she's already a mother, I should say. She already has a daughter, so having another child, whether it's a son or a daughter, she might decide to hang it up, but we don't know. That's up to her. But if she doesn't, I expect Lacey Evans to go to SmackDown. Lucha House Party, I think, is going to go to SmackDown as well. Or they might stay on Raw to help the tag team division there, but more than likely they'll go to SmackDown. Maurice is going to go to Raw because Miz is there. Slapjack, he's probably going to go to SmackDown. And Titus O'Neil, I think, is going to remain on Raw. That's basically, who I think is going to go where when they in storyline sign with with whatever brand they want in the future. Now, basically, they do list off some notes and everything. That basically some of the people that were listed as members of NXT roster were also referred to as Raw stars and all that, like Drake Maverick. Basically, Drake Maverick was a Raw star. I'm reading this, trying to make sure I get everything right. And Mia Yim. Was on the Raw roster as Reckoning, but now she was also listed as herself as a talent, NXT talent, basically. But yeah, that's the draft, and the way I look at it is that it has potential to be good either way. Like, Roman Reigns remaining on SmackDown again, obviously was a Fox call, and the same with Charlotte going there. Drew obviously is going to be the first major one he gets, along with Jeff Hardy, and Naomi. Obviously, she's going to feud with Sonya Deville, but then I think that's going to lead into a feud with Charlotte, because we might find out that it was Charlotte that convinced Fox, hey, take Naomi, she'll be beneficial for you. And then Fox is like, okay, we'll take her, but we're also going to get you as well. And that's probably what happened, because maybe in storyline it'll be revealed that Fox knew what Charlotte was trying to pull, and they're like, you're not going to pull that on us. Like, we appreciate you, telling us about Naomi, but you know what? We're going to get you too, because we could see a great matchup between you two. So in storyline, maybe that's what it is. Maybe they can be like, we know you wanted to avoid her because you know she potentially could beat you for the title, but guess what? You're now on Fox with her. You're going to defend against her. So I can see that. But yeah, there are some good. Hit Row, I think, is going to be one of those NXT exceptions to where, I know people worry about them, but I think Hit Row, just being natural the way they are, and the fact that they're even coming out and telling people like just Alex Six, that Alex Six and others that, hey, don't worry about us, we'll adjust, we'll be fine. I think, Fox being obviously an influencer and bringing them in, I think Fox is going to tell Vince, let them be themselves, and you'll see the money come in. So there are a lot of good potential draft picks here and everything that were made throughout the two nights, and a lot of them have potential. I mean, obviously, to me, if you wanted to ask who won out of the two groups, I would say that SmackDown won this draft. I mean, yeah, Raw is 3 hours, and it would allow them to have an additional 2 rounds on screen. But to me, obviously, SmackDown won this, and they won it because of the talent they're getting. And I think Fox, being a very sports-oriented kind of company, especially when they list, SmackDown under the Fox Sports brand, obviously they see the potential with some of the people they're bringing in, like a Ricochet, like a Drew Gulak, like a Jinder Mahal and a Shanky as a tag team, stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see what they do. Raw, I can tell you this, they got talent now. They're going to have to learn how to utilize them. Honestly, here's what I see. I see RK Bro getting past AJ and Omos at Crown Jewel. And then I think the next contenders for them will be the Dirty Dogs. That being Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler and Alpha Academy as well. So the tag team divisions, they seem to be trying to balance them out on both shows as best they could. But honestly, from a men's, women's, and tag teams perspective, I think SmackDown won this one. I think they won the draft this year. But let me know what your thoughts are. What did you think of this year's WWE Draft? Who do you think is going to benefit who from being drafted to to certain brands? And what brand do you think is going to benefit in the long run? Do you think SmackDown, thanks to Fox's influence, is going to be benefiting out of this more so than anything? Or do you think maybe Raw will come out of nowhere and surprise us? Let me know down below in the comments, as well as in the live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Check me out at my Teespring store, especially with what I had to talk about in a recent video. Check me out at that Teespring store. I'd really appreciate it, especially at this time. As well as check me out and support me on my Patreon at Brian Warmer, BW Roses. That would really help me out too. As well as check me out at Vimeo at BW Roses. As well as check me out at BW Roses Discussions on all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. And that's really all I'm going to say, guys. But let me know what your thoughts are down below. I will provide a link to the Wikipedia page. You guys could check out the draft results there. And that's about it, guys. So till next time, I will talk to y'all later.